What if we found a way to drain all the Earth's oceans through some mysterious portal at the bottom of the Mariana Trench? How long would it take? Years? Centuries? Millennia? Would there be any life left on Earth when the pumping was over? What if it happened overnight? This is Curious Enough, and we'll be dealing with that. The Earth's surface is composed of roughly 71% water and 29% land, where the oceans hold almost 97% of all the water resources on the planet. The Earth would have been drastically different if this ratio had been reversed, with a solid landmass making up most of Earth's surface. Also, for this hypothetical discussion, let's assume that everything would be opposite, which means that the high land masses would be turned into deep trenches. The differences would be innumerable, were the Earth supporting a totally different form of life if life was even possible. With this strange premise firmly in our minds, let's see what living on such a planet would entail. The oceans are the most important support system for life on Earth, maybe even necessary for evolution on any planet in the first place. Oceans basically have two life-supporting roles. First, they absorb and distribute solar radiation. Without water, harsh rays from the sun would bake the equator while distributing almost no energy to the poles, especially in the winter. Fortunately for us, water does a great job of absorbing the energy, and the oceans regulate temperatures around the Earth. Currents circulate warm tropical waters to the north and south and cold water back to the equator, distributing the heat energy so that no place gets too hot for life to survive and warming colder areas. Second, the oceans feed the water cycle, the movement of water from the seas to the air to the clouds, across miles and back again to the sea or to fall on the land. When water is heated at the equator, it evaporates and becomes clouds. As warm air rises, it also draws in cooler air from underneath. This process stimulates more even heat distribution, turning places where it would otherwise be too cold to live into lush, balmy gardens. That's why the Mediterranean is so temperate and why there are places in Scotland warmed by the Gulf Stream where you can grow palm trees. Without the oceans, the world loses 97% of its water. The small amount of liquid left wouldn't be enough to sustain the water cycle. The pools of drinkable water would evaporate pretty fast. In a matter of days, people and most animals would die from dehydration. Plants would have a few weeks before they start decaying in the dry air. Within a few months, forests would begin massive die-offs. All this dead, dry vegetation would eventually ignite. In a matter of years, most of the world's forests would be burned down. As these huge bonfires sparked all across the planet, the atmosphere would become less and less oxygenated. The Arctic would essentially stop existing, and the hidden bathymetry beneath it would resemble a series of jagged crevasses. The Antarctic, free from its icy Tibet, would become a rocky barren land full of mountains and unfathomably large canyons. Clouds would no longer hang over the nations of the world, rain and snow would become extinct, hurricanes and thunderstorms would evaporate away into nothingness, and a pale blue dot would be decidedly more brown and green. Weather would be dominated by wind patterns and little else. Sandy deserts would spread across the planet. If there were still humans at this time, the unbreathable air and scorching temperature would wipe us out for good. All in all, the Earth would end up just like Venus, cooked.
Stay tuned and I'll see you all in my next video.